This is a table of stuff that I use. I've lost and found stuff in kitchens. Let's start off with the water can. The water can is an old peanut jar. I like it because it's square at the bottom. There's little chance of it tipping. These are watercolor pencils. Next to that is wax paper. I use a lot of rubber gloves, sponges, spray bottles, a must. These are tissue papers you use for perms. These are nice for layering. Next to that is gesso, corks and wines, feathers, make beautiful lines. This tool here is for texture on your canvas when you put the molding paste on. We've got rollers there, shapes from old toys. The other thing we got here, scissors you need, a big brush for blending, spatula knives. I found this old wooden shape here. I found that in Home Depot. They were throwing it away. This here is just a bundle of circles, squares, hearts. For texturing your canvas at the end, we've got large bubble wrap and small bubble wrap. This is liner. It does a quite nice print. And this is from the mandarin oranges. This is a stick, if you can see it. It cost me about $1 to make. It's just a stick, piece of foam covered with elastic band. And this is a stick that you might need to balance your arm. Okay, also some stamps would be nice if you have any. And then the piece of paper here, as you can see from the back, there's a shape of a leaf. Well, that's a part of the canvas. I keep that and I cut shapes out of it and I use them as stamps for the abstracts. I think I've got everything. Oh, these are, let's see if I can get in here. These are painters. These are acrylic paint and pens. You can get a set of 6 of them. But if you want to just start with a couple, just black and white. Okay, I think we've got most of the stuff. Oh, masking tape's a must too. Different shapes, different widths. I'll bring this stick down to show you what's. As you see, just a doily, and it's got a piece of foam inside, and cover it with an old t-shirt and an elastic band. Okay, thank you for the introduction of objects to paint abstracts with. The first composition is called the grid. As you can see, it's got all different squares. Or sometimes you can draw it and it looks like tic-tac-toe kind of thing. The second one is the S, or pathway. And you've seen many abstracts like that. Now these are all vertical. I'm showing you for the canvas right now. This one is 1/3 busy at the bottom and 2/3 quiet at the top. So you'd put a basic one color at the top and then all your interesting parts will be at the bottom. Or you can also reverse it the other way, where you do all the busy stuff at the top and quiet at the bottom. You'll usually see this in quite often in landscapes where you have a little bit of land and a lot of sky. The next one is, I don't know what you call this, but lines and lines and lines in different directions. It looks kind of boring, but once you get all the different layers on, It's quite interesting. The other thing about the lines is that you can speed the lines up or you can slow them down. You can make them directional to take people different where you want them to go. The next one is, I'll get this one down a little bit. This one is the one that we use most often. It's called the golden rule or something, which what you do, you divide your canvas into 3 bits and then you crisscross them into 3, and then wherever that intersects is where the point of interest will be. Now there's a mathematical thing to work this out. Go look on the internet. I'm not a mathematician, but I know just doing the 1/3 thing works. Now I put the cross there for a reason. Another thing about focal points, which a lot of people don't know, if you put the darkest and the lightest together, then people will go there in your painting. Now the next one is the crucifixion. I use that quite often for my abstract flowers. I try to offset the crucifixion a little bit to make it off balance. The next one is circular, or you can do it on triangles or squares. When you do either circle, triangles or square, you want to do 75-25 ratio or close enough to it. When I say 75-25, it's not a rule, but you try to get as close to that as possible. So here the circle, what we did is we did 3 circles interacting with each other, and then we've put the square. So it takes away the boredom of all the circles and people kind of get bored with it. So this is a kind of, the squares kind of wake up, listen, I'm showing you something. Now the next vertical one, I call it the connection. I just want to show you different things you can use to join shapes up. You see the crisscross circles, or you can put like the circle going around and that joins 3 bits of your abstract together. You get squiggly lines. You can come up with different things of how to connect 2 shapes together within the picture. We'll just call that connection. I made that one up myself. I'm going to move the camera a little bit down here. This one is I'm changing the square from vertical to horizontal, but when you do horizontal you can use the above ones too. It's just a preference of how you want to show your painting. Now this one of the horizontal, I put the design right in the middle, and then both sides I've kept quite quiet. Or you can do it the other way too, keep the center quiet and make the outer two busy. I kind of like the center more because it's a little bit harder to do the outer ones. Now this one here is what a lot of the artists use in abstracts is symbols. As you can see, some of them peace signs and hearts and shamrocks and life trees. You can put them in your picture and symbols, and people will understand what you're saying. It's like an unwritten artistic language. Now this little ratio thing that I keep telling people, odd numbers, and it always works for me. But gives you a little chance of, okay, you're going to set up a painting, pick what shape you think you're going to do. Say the crucifixion, then you pick, okay, what color do you want? Okay, and I want 75-25 ratio, so you go 75 maybe blue, and you know you're going to need a little interest in the painting, so you put in 25% a warm color, maybe a touch of orange, and that'll make the picture just jump out at people. Again, the shapes, 75% circles, 25% squares or lines, or you know, whatever you can break up that main shape of, like the circles. The next thing is speed. There's always a speed in a painting, so you tend to do that with lines. long lines, squiggly lines, fast lines, and that will give you the speed of the painting. Now the second last thing is layers. Abstracts are many layers. You usually can get away with about 3 of them, but I've seen as many as 20. If you've got the money, you can put as many layers in as you want, because abstract paintings take a lot of paint. Sometimes I paint the layers underneath with cheaper paint, and then my last layer I use the more expensive paint, which is a little bit way of cheating when you come the price of making an abstract. I usually run about 6, but I've seen as many as 20 layers. The more layers, the more interesting. Abstracts, it's not like a vase of flowers and you know what it is. You have to give a feeling, and that's through colours and speeds and shapes and symbols, and to tell your story. Now the last thing is texture. Texture, I use texture modeling paste from Blix. I use the heavy modeling paste. This it's a fabulous paste. You can put it on at first, which will go on to the next video, is on how to layer pasting textures on your canvas. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, this texture modeling heavy paste can also be mixed with paint, so you can actually start building up your picture with the first layer with texture. Well, I hope this has helped you. What I was trying to do is to give you all the different shapes before you start, all in one page or one video, to let you think. Now if you want to do a little test, you can go and start looking at abstracts and see where you can put it under these shapes. Now you can add more than one shape or composition. You can put 2 or 3 different compositions into the one painting. It's quite difficult, but it can be done. Thank you for coming to this video. I hope it's given you enough information that you can start your own abstract. Hope to see you in the next video for how to put texture on. Thank you for coming. Have a nice day, and hope to see you for the next tutorial. Bye. What I've been trying to do here for you is to give you an idea how to set up a painting. First you would pick what kind of style you like, then you pick your colour, and then your shape, your speed, your layers, and a little piece of paper. You can do a little scribble drawing. Once you start, I'm going to tell you about abstracts. They've got a mind of their own. They will go in a direction that you weren't expecting. Just enjoy it. That's a part of painting art. A bit like life. You think you're going one direction, and then a fork comes in the road and sends you another. I think I prefer abstracts to, excuse me, I think I prefer abstracts to painting flowers. Because when I paint flowers, I sort of know what I'm to expect at the end. But with abstracts, it's unbelievable. Subconscious, I'm going to say, things happen. Paste, modeling paste. This is quite a big bucket. If you want to get a smaller one, go ahead. Usually when I buy this so big, I'll put it in smaller jars so it doesn't dry up. I've tried stuff at Home Depot and the thing just cracks. The golden is not too bad. I've not had many problems with that. But this is a great price. Usually when you're doing a canvas this big, you can use a lot of texture material. It's actually cheaper to use the moulding paste than to use regular paint to build up your canvas. So we're going to get on, the next section is how to texture your canvas. The quickest way of doing it is kitchen spatula. It's like $1 at the dollar store. You can just put it on. I don't know if you can see the difference. It's going to be very hard to see it, but just give you an idea of the different tools you can use. Now if you drag it down, you'll get some bits that are thicker than the other pieces, and that gives a nice texture once the colour's in. Then you have this fancy comb that will make marks on it. Bubble wrap again. Now one of these tooth combs. This one's a little bit cheaper than the other one. That one you have to buy at a paint store, and then you can go crisscross. They have a different design, or you can curve it. See if we can get this design in. This one you roll it, kind of gives a nice smooth, uneven texture. You know, that's both the same thing, but you can make it smooth or you can make it texture, like it's got little rolls in it. The thicker you put it on, the more texture you can get out of it. Or you can stamp things into it. This is very hard to see, but just to give you ideas of stuff you can use. And you can sponge. Or you can put some texture on your ruler. Bit of demonstration of it. take the end of the feather or brush. Let's put this on thicker. Keep it on real thick and then pull it up. This one I use quite often. Just put the texture and then pull it up. Just over here. Just put lines in it. Now you can do like square, one on top of each other. And then you can just do like lines. Now when you put the paint on, all these designs will come out. When you're doing this one, you pull it up, you make like little peaks. Try not to make them too sharp or they will break. Real dark. Oh yeah, you can do squiggly thing too. It's endless what you can do. Most people when they buy an abstract, the first thing they look at is texture. Now you can take like a little roller. This is a messy bit. Good idea to wear gloves. Since my hands are dirty, now I can just go and make the shapes with my fingers. It's a good way of saving money. Take your credit card, cover it in paint so you cannot use it ever again. Just slide it on with a credit card. It's going to save you a lot of money this way. Now you can do this at the beginning, or you can do it when you're painting. Just say you want one section, it's texture. Do the painting, underpainting first, and then texture after that. I think that's all the things I can tell you about texture. You can find your own way about the texture. You might come up with ideas that I've never tried. I think the comb's the nicest effect. Now if you do the molding paste, super thick. This line will be deeper. You can see how much molding paste you need. It's quite good to buy a large amount. Now the bucket comes in half the size. Maybe you want to do that to start off with. But definitely when people look at abstracts, the first thing to look at is texture. I hope you can see this. It's quite hard because the texture material is white. Now with the texture, another thing you can do with this molding paste is you can mix the colours. So if you want to start off with this section yellow, you can put yellow in your molding paste and then mold this section. So if you want another colour, you can actually kind of start to work your abstract up. Today we're going to do a quick 5-minute how to set up an abstract. This canvas here is 30 by 40. I kept the cling wrap on it, as you can see. I gently took off the sign and taped it back on. So what this does is it gets you loose, and abstracts you've got to be really loose and have fun. So this gives you a little practice canvas to work on to see what type of abstract you like. This is a pen that's a dry eraser, so if you don't like the shape of it, you can change bits and pieces of it. I'm just going to go ahead and randomly make designs. Canvas to work on to see what type of abstract you like. This is a pen that's a dry eraser, so if you don't like the shape of it, you can change bits and pieces of it. I'm just going to go ahead and randomly make designs. I'm not even thinking about it. There we go. This is me just getting loose. Again, I spoke to you in the last video about connectors. No, it's not working now. Let's get it up. connectors. That's connecting one part of the design into the other. Or we can do a circle overlapping or a square. And what that does is that overlaps all these and connecting every part of the design. Okay, what else about this? Then there were connectors like this. Then I told you about the shapes. All these nice shapes you can make. You can go ahead and do that at this point. When you don't like what that shape is, move it somewhere else. And the other thing you can do is, technology is fabulous. Take a photograph of this and go into one of the paint programs, and then you can put different colors in and see what you like. And then when you come back, you actually have the painting already. Now, even if you have a great plan of what this abstract is going to look like, it never quite works that way. Abstracts change by the moment. You must go with the flow of an abstract. Don't try to win over it, because it has the power to change with the mixing of the paints and the mediums and the textures. I hope this has helped you a little bit. We'll do a couple of examples of different types of compositions, and this is a great way of actually even experimenting with them all. And clean this off, and we'll try a few of them. When you paint abstracts, it's very expensive because the paint, you need many layers of paint. So this way I'll give you a little idea of what your direction is. Very simple, and it also gets you to relax and gives you more confidence, because you got a rough idea that, oh, you know what you're doing before you go into the big canvas or the raw canvas underneath. Okay, let me get started on a couple of the shapes here. I'm going to move over here and twist this a little bit to show you the different shapes. Okay, not that good. The last video has it on it, so you can go and look for that. Okay. It's nice if this is dry before you start doing your shapes. When you use one of these rollers, T roller, which is great when you're doing abstracts, because it makes you get beautiful line. See if I get it darker. Okay, I'm going to do the crucifixion composition. And that's a good start, and then you can add things to it. You can stop it here, you don't have to go right to the edge. Oh, and you also can do like squares here. This is usually less busier, do a couple of colors on it. But that's all coming from the crucifixion. As you can see, I didn't make the crucifixion right across. I pulled it down a little bit to make it more interesting. Then you can do little squares here. Then you also can use the connectors to connect them. You can build this up even before you start with the abstract on the raw canvas. As I say, take it to your computer and play around with the colours. You can even, with the computer, you can throw in some circles and squares. And now, talking about colours, this is a good time to think about your colour. Usually the base colour, which is the first coat of many, I usually try to do it light colours because it's always easier to put darks on lights versus putting lights on dark. So I always build it up lighter, less lighter, and then I build it up till I get to the colours I really want. But it's a good time just to mark up here what kind of colours you're thinking of, and even maybe go check to see which colours go with that colour, you know, to balance it off. What else you can do before you even get started? I don't want to take the fun and the excitement away from this, but when you paint abstracts, they've got a mind of their own. The next composition I'm going to do is the one that quite a lot of artists use. That's where you divide the canvas into three. And then you divide it again into three this direction. And where the lines intersect is going to be your point of interest. So what you do with this abstract is all the interesting bits will happen here. I'm going to just start with some shapes. So this is where you want the people to go with their eyes. So usually I keep this bit really busy. Now you can have more than one interesting point, or we call focal points. You can have a small focal point here, but this should be your main one. Or you can have another focal here. Now I'm not thinking about this, I'm just making shapes. Okay. Now you can bridge one focal with another. I do quite often in my abstracts. Put a line going across here. Try to make it interesting, the line, not just too boring. And then of course I use a lot of connectors in my work. Now usually what I keep, the rest of this is very plain. Multiple colours, but you can tell that it's like all grey or something. Again, this is dry erasers. Take that out. Now you've changed the abstract. You can have real good fun with this cling wrap thing. Now I was telling you about the circles. To break that up, you can put a square here. I was talking about 75, 25 with the circles. And you go short lines to the end if you want. You can block them if you don't want people to leave. It's endless with abstracts. But this is the one that most people use. Some people call it the golden rule or the first. That's likely, I would say, is the best one to start off with because it's not that complicated and you only have to work in a small area. There's not really that much balance because the background is very simple and that usually balances everything up. Okay, thank you very much. I hope to see you in the next tutorial. This is the basics of setting up an abstract painting.